Good morning, America. Good afternoon from Germany. It's a new trading week. I didn't want to go live, but you asked me to, and here I am. So let's have a look at the market. As we already know, nothing important today from the news side, but tomorrow is CPI, Consumer Price Index, and yeah, let's prepare the week just today to be prepared for the news tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. So I will bring up a chart of natural gas first. Let's start with this today. Again, a big up gap today. Last week we had the down gap. Today we have the up gap, and what a big gap. Look at this. This was 11% on the opening higher. What a crazy move. And yeah, it's still 8.5% in the green for natural gas over the weekend. What a crazy move. So I left my long trade a little bit too early. I should just have held it over the weekend. I would have made a couple of more dollars. Let's say it like this. Okay, let's look on Nasdaq. Here is Nasdaq future. This is still December future. The new front contract for this week should be March expiry, because December is expiring this Friday. You see December 16th. But it's still a liquid one, so we can still rely on December future here for the next trading days, and then move on to March future, the next expiry. We see on the opening a little bit down coming and then coming back. So now let's see if we can hold above the moving averages and above volume weighted average price. So for now it's just sideways trading within the last minutes. Go on a 1 minute chart to see it a little bit in depth, and here we see VWAP is acting as a support level, and we see here that direction is in favor for the bulls. So we had a crossing here on ADX for positive, and we have here the same, showing an uptrend, but it's just on a 1 minute chart. If we move to a 5 minute chart, it's still a downtrend. We have to close above this parabolic SAR dot here, and then it will indicate an uptrend. You see the lines from last week here, the white lines are still in place, so it acted as a support. Again, we were trading sideways before the market opened, then we went bullish, and we were coming back to this support level. This was the closing of last Friday. We were moving a little bit lower on the Asian session, but not a lot. And then during the European session, we went sideways here, had a breakout to the upside, and now went back and retested the lows. So it's a good sign for the bulls now that we retested these levels and could manage to hold above VWAP. Let's see if we can stay there without any major news today. I will just bring up the news for you just to show what's interesting today. Yeah, the news. Well, let's bring them up in English so that you can read them. Here, the news for today. Only British news, nothing major from the US. Only 2-star events today, 3-year and 10-year note auctions, federal budget balance, so nothing important today. The more important news are tomorrow with CPI, 1 hour before the market opens. You see here 8:30 Eastern time, core CPI and CPI, these are 3-star events. So this is important tomorrow, 1 hour before the market opened. And I will be live streaming this event tomorrow. And we will have API weekly crude oil stock like every Tuesday. Yeah, it's only a 2-star event, so CPI will be the more important one today. Let's look at the other dates for this week. We will have on Wednesday, this is a major event, on the FOMC meeting with Jerome Powell at 4 p.m. Eastern. This is 8 p.m. my time. Unfortunately, I will not be at my desk. I will be on an options trading event, a local event here in my city, and we will live stream it together there. So I won't be able to live stream it for you because it's a German event. I will speak German. It won't be interesting for you, but I think there will be enough other people, other traders live streaming it, so you can follow it and trade it if you want to. And yeah, I will be at my local event at 8 p.m. But there are some other events here, so some 2-star events, which also could be interesting at 8:30 a.m. and at 2 p.m. The export price index, import price index, and interest rate projection for first, second, and third year. So this can also be important things, but the more important one tomorrow on Wednesday is the FOMC meeting, the interest rate decision, and especially the press conference where Jerome Powell is speaking at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. This is 8:30 Central European time, my time. Yeah, Thursday we have more news. So again, 1 hour before the market opens, we have core retail sales, we have initial jobless claims like every Thursday, and we have Philadelphia Fed Manufacturing Index, and we have retail sales. So a lot of 3-star events 1 hour before the market opens. So we have 3 days in a row major economic news. So Tuesday we have CPI, Wednesday we have Federal Reserve interest rate decision, and on Thursday we have bundle of events: initial jobless claims, Philadelphia Fed Manufacturing Index, and retail sales. So these 3 days are really important this week, and on Friday there's nothing important again. So Monday and Friday nothing important, but the other 3 days of this week are important beginning tomorrow. So that's for the news, just to be prepared. Let's go back to the market, and it's still trading sideways without any news. It's not really interesting. That's why I didn't want it to go live. But you asked me to, and here I am. So let's answer your questions. Just ask your questions in the live chat, and then I can answer them. And if you like my channel, if you didn't subscribe yet, then please subscribe to my channel. And click the bell to be informed every time I go live. So I plan to go live tomorrow, 1 hour before the market opens. For Wednesday, I will try to go live before the market opens, but the major news will be while the market is open. So I won't be there, unfortunately. But on Thursday, I will be back at my desk before the market opens for the major news. So be prepared if you want to follow my live stream for the major news on Tuesday and Thursday. Yeah, let's go on with some other interesting things like crude oil, and then I will answer your questions. Last Friday, we talked about this interesting level where we closed here. Within the level, we did go a little bit below. So at first I thought, oh, the major level is broken and we could sell off further. But as you can see, we managed to go higher, like natural gas, not as high as natural gas. It's not 8.5%, but 3% in the green for crude oil. So the support level here is holding for now, but it's still weak. You still see that it is a downtrend, but yeah, we have some room to come back here from these low levels in crude oil. Let's see if we can manage to go up a little bit further. I think there's room to this levels here to $78 maybe. It's a room about 6 or 7%. Let's just draw a Fibonacci level to see how far we can move back from the lows to the last high, which was here. This was the last high on December 1st, and this high point was $83.34 for crude oil WTI. And yeah, you see here the Fibonacci levels. Sometimes I can see the levels without drawing a Fibonacci level. So this is an important level where I want to see crude oil prices back at. This is the 50% Fibonacci level at $76.50, and here we have the 61.8% Fibonacci level at $78.22. So yeah, we are right at the Fibonacci level now, 23.6%. This is the current price level of $73.20. Let's see if we can move up further. Up here, 6.6% to this Fibonacci level here. And you see the last time we had also some rejections here where we could manage to come back a little bit. So the last one was a little bit slow, but maybe this time we can move a little bit higher because this is a major support zone, and therefore we could see a rejection up to this level here at $78.22. I have no future position in crude oils right now, only a short put position, so an option position, but it also profits from rising crude oil prices. Yeah, let's have a look at the VIX volatility index. We can see here the same like with natural gas, a big up gap. We went up to 24.47 today, and we closed on Friday at 22.8, so a little bit more fear. That's interesting because the market is in the green, is up, so more fear. But this can be because of the major news this week, so everyone is preparing for the news and is buying puts just to be prepared for a downfall of the markets. But when the news are good or better than expected, then we can see less fear and VIX drop soon. Let's have a look at Euro USD. Just see here what happens. Let's see it on a day chart. Euro USD is just trading sideways, almost at the closing level from Friday, so nothing important here. Also waiting for the major news this week, and then we see which direction the Euro USD Forex will take on. Now to your questions. The usual NG and oil opinion today. Yes, we already did this. So let's talk again about natural gas. So for natural gas, let's just see the important levels for where the natural gas prices can come back. And we moved above the 50% level and just hit the 61.8% level. So this should it be for now. Yeah, maybe on a second or third attempt we can move higher, but I think we first have to close part of the gap. I don't know if we can close it in the whole, but you see now the moving averages are down here at the $6.50 level, so I think we have to retest these levels first and close part of the gap, and then we can move to higher levels. So yeah, I wouldn't take on a long trade right now. I still have a short call and a short put. So for me, the price should just move sideways and the implied volatility shouldn't move higher. So let's see implied volatility. You see it was rising again to 113% implied volatility. So that's the expectation of the market participants for natural gas for one trading year, a movement of 113%. We are still far away from the 175% we were at November 24th. But it's rising fast. Implied volatility is gaining traction, and as long as we are going higher in this speed, then implied volatility is rising. So I hope that we will just trade sideways or close part of the gap, and implied volatility will go down again, because I shorted volatility, because I shorted a call and shorted a put option. Where do you get your trading ideas from, Lucas? The answer is simple, from the charts. I look at the charts, I do my analysis, and then I get an idea where the market wants to move, because everything is in the prices. So every news, everyone can read and interpret the news how he, she wants, and then take on a trade or just not trade. And so everything is in the prices, and I only have to look at the charts, and then I can take on a decision if I want to trade something to the long or to the short side. Are you actively looking through the markets for setups or use screeners? Yeah, most of the time I just look at the markets if I'm trading directionally. Like here, I'm speaking about directional trades for Nasdaq, crude oil, natural gas, and so on. But I also take on non-directional trades. This is what I do 80 or 90% of the time when I trade options. These are non-directional trades. I want to trade volatility and theta decay. So I just want to be in a trade and just for it to do nothing or not move in my direction where I have my strike level of my option. Because I'm an option seller, I want to stay the prices to be away of my strike, and that's a non-directional trade, because I can also make money when the price is just moving sideways or implied volatility, so the fear is coming down, and that's the interesting thing selling options. So I do both. I sometimes take on directional trades like I did last week with natural gas here. You have me seen trading long to the long side, and I closed the natural gas long position in the live stream from last Friday. You can rewatch it if you have missed it. and took my profits out. Yeah, unfortunately a little bit too early, but it's better to be safe than sorry. And yeah, it was a nice profit before the weekend, and then I shorted a call on the option. Yeah, maybe a little bit too early. I would have gotten better price today, but that's it. Sometimes that's trading, but I can still make money just being patient and waiting for implied volatility to come down or the prices to go lower again. Okay, next question. How do you see QQQ for today? Chris, I don't trade QQQ. I only look at the futures. So if you follow me or my live streams, you should know that I don't look at QQQ. I'm not trading exchange traded funds, ETFs. I'm not able to trade US ETFs because I'm a European, and it is forbidden here to trade or to hold US ETFs. It's just not possible, and therefore I'm not analyzing QQQ. I'm analyzing the Nasdaq future, but it's the same as QQQ. So when I talk about Nasdaq or Nasdaq future, you can just put it on the same as QQQ, because it's the ETF on Nasdaq, and therefore it's the same movement like the Nasdaq future. Do you think we will trade sideways today until CPI report? Yeah, maybe we will, because as you have seen, there are no major news for today. So maybe we will retest the lows or high points of today and Friday. So let's go a little bit higher and see the important levels here. Just zoom in a little bit. So we can still see the high point from last Friday was here at 11,750. And the low point was 11,516. Today was the low point 11,523. So we almost hit the low point of Friday, and now we are working maybe on the upside. You see the moving averages here, and maybe we will retest here the moving averages. I don't know if we can hit the high points of Friday. I think we will just trade sideways within this range until tomorrow for CPI news, and then we will see the bigger movement. So last Friday we have seen with PPI news, producer price index, that we had a 200 point drop. Let's just go back to this just to see it again. On Friday we had 1 hour before the market opened PPI, and here you can see we went down from 11,750, which was the high point of the day, down to 11,516, so almost 200 points, more than 200 points in 15 minutes, but then we went back for a run, almost 100% reversal. But the news were better than expected, so worse for the market because of the fear of more inflation risk and therefore higher interest rates. Maybe we will see the same tomorrow with CPI, because the forecast is almost the same. Let's go in depth to the forecast for tomorrow. So I'll bring it up. Oops, sorry, this was the wrong one. This is the correct one. Let's see for tomorrow for CPI. It is here, CPI. Let's see the yearly number. So the projection here for CPI for tomorrow is 7.3%. So you see it's a lot lower than the last month. Last month we had 8.1, 8.1 and 8.0%, and this time it's 7.3%. So it's lower, 0.7%. So it's a lot lower. And you see the last months we were almost in line, a little bit higher, but the last months we were lower, 0.3%. And then the market rallied, really, the market rallied because of this lower than expected CPI data. But it is more difficult now to be below the forecast, because the forecast is lower by 0.7% this time. And it's only, it's still a high number, but it's only 7.3%. So it will be more difficult to be below this number. And therefore, maybe we will see the same like last Friday with PPI, where we had the higher than expected number. It was only a little bit higher than expected, but we had this 200 points downfall and then right away the recovery. So let's see if we can manage to have the same if we see numbers like 7.4, 7.5%, so a little bit higher than expected, but still lower than the last number. The last number was 7.7. So as long as we stay lower than the last number, it's still good, because we see that inflation will come down, and this is what Federal Reserve wants to see, even if it's higher than the forecast. So we could see an immediate drop, 200 points or more, but then we can see a recovery right away because it's not as bad as expected because it's still dropping. So I won't set a number here for my own expectation because I don't have any. I just trade the direction. I don't want to trade the forecast or the outcome of the numbers. I want to trade direction. And therefore I look at the charts and I take on a decision and a trade when the news are out. I'm still in a long trade. You can see here I'm still trading it to the long side, but it's a swing trade. So I hold this swing trade over last Friday PPI, and I will hold it over tomorrow CPI, and I will hold it over Wednesday Federal Reserve this interest rate decision. So it's not important if you have a smaller position or if you have a swing trade position with a defined stop loss and a defined risk. So it's not a day trade, and therefore it's not important which news are coming out. You have to know about the news, of course, but I know that the news are coming out this week, and I will hold my long trade here. But yeah, I expect maybe that we will see a downfall tomorrow on the news, but a fast recovery like last Friday. This can happen, and if it comes the other way, if we see a rise immediately, then yeah, it's also in my favor, so I won't complain. Let's see your other questions. Huge gap up on natural gas today, but I still wait to go short. Yeah, it's up to you. It's never an advice to do anything here, so no investment advice from me. Just talking about the charts for entertainment purposes here, and it's always up to you what you want to do. For now, it's just trading sideways. We are still 9.5% in the green, but this gap is really massive, so we have a lot of room to close. You see, this was the closing of Friday here at the $6.30, and the lowest point was today $6.76. So there are more than 40 cents in between these two levels, and therefore a lot of room to close here, maybe a part of this gap. Thinking of oil today to buy. Yeah, we already talked about crude oil. I'm not taking a directional trade on crude oil, but it's looking like a recovery right now. US dollar Canada short. We can also have a look at US dollar Canada if you want. So US dollar Canada. Let's bring this up. So it's like Euro USD trading sideways. Yeah, it's a little bit the opposite like Euro USD, because here US dollar is the first and Canada dollar is the second. So it's just like the opposite. When the price is coming down, then it means that there's a weakness of US dollar, and the Canada dollar has gotten stronger. But now here we see just trading sideways for the last 5 trading days, and we have to wait for a breakout here. We can possibly see this when the commodity prices are rising, like natural gas and crude oil, because Canada dollar is a commodity currency, and therefore when the commodities get stronger, then also the Canadian dollar gets stronger. But we have to wait for a breakout here about above the $1.73 level or below the $1.35 level, and then we see a breakout to the up or to the downside. For now it's just trading sideways and not really interesting to take on a trade, but we see that we are in an uptrend, so making higher highs, higher lows, and yeah, still waiting. But yeah, the last highs were here, so we have some room to the upside. This is about 1.5% to the upside to break this last high level. I know we had higher highs here, but this was just a wick to the upside, so therefore I take this high point here, and when we manage to close above this high point here, then we will probably move higher. But for a day trade, just wait for the breakout above this level at $1.37 or below $1.355, and then you could trade it again. I don't want to trade it in a sideways range like here. Are you still in Nasdaq? Yes, we just talked about it. I'm still long in Nasdaq. Do you do your analysis and Fibonacci retracement in the 4-hour, daily or weekly chart? Yeah, it depends. I do it on every time frame. So you can do it on a day chart like this here. So let's do it here. Then you could also draw a Fibonacci extension or retracement from the last high point here to the lower point. You can now take on the lowest point here in October, or the last low point we had here on November the 3rd. Take whichever you want. Yeah, now you see here we had 50% correction to the downside, and then we went up a little bit, so just slightly from the lows of last week. We still have room, but we are more to the high point than we are to the low point, but we had the 50% retracement already, and you see this is an important level because the 11,500 level, we touched it several times now within the last weeks. It's just in a sideways trading range, just the same like US dollar, Canada dollar, and we are waiting for a breakout to the up or to the downside, but it needs some time to take this decision. But I think the next time we will hit the upper level here, we will probably see the outbreak here. And yeah, this could be an interesting week because we have a quadruple witching day on Friday, so futures and options are expiring, and therefore there will be a lot of movement also on Friday, even without major news. And this could happen that with the news this week we can see the break of the 12,000 level and the break of the last highs here of 12,144, and then we see maybe the break of the last high points here. But for now it's just trading sideways. You see parabolic SAR on a day chart here is on the upside. This means a downtrend, but yeah, this was an uptrend, but we were just trading sideways, so it's not really interesting. You see here ADX is showing a really weak trend. We are below 15, so almost no trend, and I would wait for a breakout if you really want to trade a trend. I'm early in my long trade, but I want to trade it to the long side because I still think that December is a bullish month, and I still think that we will see it like the last 2 or 3 weeks of December up into January, then maybe the first or up to the second week in January we will see green prices here in Nasdaq. Let's wait and see what the market will bring us. My stop loss is right below this level at 11,380. So if we break to the downside and make lower lows, I'm out of my trade, and I will wait for the prices to settle and find their new low. Hi John, nice to see you in the chat. I want to invest in a couple stocks since there's gonna be important economic reports this week. What do you recommend? Wait until these economic reports are released. Fernando, it depends on your trading time frame. So if you want to day trade, then the news are important, of course, because there will be major movements. But if you want to take on trades or investments, I should rather say investments, for 5 or 10 years, then the news are not important, because you are in your trade for 5 or 10 years, then you can take on your trade right now or right after the news. It won't change a lot, because 200 points more or less, that's not a big difference if you hold your position for 5 or 10 years. Therefore you have just to distinguish between a shorter time frame and a longer time frame you want to hold your position. So if you want to day trade, then maybe wait for the news, wait for the direction. If you want to hold it for a longer time frame, then you can do whatever you want. You can take it before the news or after the news. It won't change a lot. Could you look at the VIX and give us your input on the gap today and what that means? Yeah, we already talked about this. So VIX is up because there is some fear of the news this week. So you see that we had this up gap here, and we are still waiting for the news tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, and then we will probably see a close or partial close of this of this gap we see here. It's not up really far because we had high points here at 23.20. But it's higher because there are major news this week, and therefore there is more fear in the market, even if the Nasdaq can hold its levels right now. So everyone is preparing for the news and buying puts, and therefore VIX is up. Nothing special. But we also can see that when Euro-USD is just trading sideways, we see that the money is not moving out of cash and not moving back into the US dollar as safe haven, and therefore we just have to wait for the news to come out to see major movements. Can you show where your FIBO levels are at? Which FIBO levels do you place the most emphasis on when trading? And how often do you redo your FIBO levels? I redo my FIBO levels when we have some time passed, so when we make new lows or new highs, or when it's just not important anymore. So here these levels are still in place because we had the high points, we had the low point here. So on a time frame like this, for a swing trade on a day by day basis or a week basis, it's still important, these levels. But you can also do a Fibonacci levels on a 15-minute chart if you want to. Just take the last 3 days. So you could also do it right here. Just let me delete the other ones and redo it from the high points of Friday to the low points we had last week here. So you could also draw Fibonacci levels here. And you see it would also work because today we hit the Fibonacci levels here, and then we retested and went to the upside again. You see the high point was right below Fibonacci levels. So you can have Fibonacci levels on every time frame you want. But as higher you go, on a higher time frame, it's more important because more traders will look at higher time frames, will see the same levels you see, and therefore will trade these levels. And then it gets like a self-fulfilling prophecy. As more traders are trading these levels, then it's more important because more traders see the levels, trade the levels, and therefore it will work. But you can also do it on a 1 minute or 5 minute time frame within a day. So you can use this high point and this low point and just redo it. You can do it on every time frame you want. But because I'm a swing trader, I like to do it on a higher time frame, like 4 hour or a day chart, or even on a weekly chart. But here the same. You see, we had the coming down to 76.4% level. Now we are going back again. So you can use Fibonacci on every time frame you want. Yeah, just see that it's a major movement, and then take the high and the low point, or the low and the high point, and draw your Fibonacci retracements there, and you can use it even if you are a day trader and only trade on a 1 minute time frame. Yeah. We really appreciate your feedback and the thought breakdown. Yeah, thank you for watching. So I like to answer your questions, and it's more interesting when I can answer your questions. So never stop asking questions, and then you will get a better trader. So that's what we can see now. Just more trading sideways. That's why I didn't want to go live, because it's not really interesting without major news moving the market today. But let's see if we can find something interesting on Tesla today, because Tesla is down again. We are at $171, at $172 right now, down about 4% today. This is a monthly chart, and we are trying to break the lows. So we talked about this last Friday, almost every day. Let's go to a day chart again, and we see more weakness. And yeah, this was one green candle last Friday. We had this doji candle here, but it was only one green candle on Friday, and today more weakness. Elon Musk was booed out in San Francisco this weekend when he went on the stage. Maybe there were some former Twitter employees in the crowd. I don't know. Well, he was a little bit astonished about the boost, but yeah, that happens when you fire half of the staff of Twitter and then go on the stage in San Francisco, which is where the headquarters of Twitter is still. So yeah, that's it. And this is still a problem for Tesla stock, because they fear that Elon Musk needs a lot of time for Twitter, and all the time he needs for Twitter he does not have for Tesla. And Tesla is now cutting back the prices for their models in China, because they have a demand problem in China, and therefore they need to lower the price levels to higher the demand again. And yeah, this will weaken their profit rate, and that's not good. All the news are not really good. I've read through the last week from Tesla and Elon Musk, and therefore it's still considered to be a weak stock, weaker than the market is. Even if the market is strong, this stock will probably be weaker. That's what we have seen through the last weeks, and we will probably see through the end of this year. I have no trade right now, but I'm ready to take on a new short trade, but not a directional trade. I will not short the stock, I will short a call, so an option again, just to have time in my favor and short the implied volatility. But I don't want to short right now. I want to see lower levels here or a comeback, and then I will short the strength of the stock, because I still think it's a weak one until the end of the year. How much do you wait after CPI release to know what the direction is? Right away, or give it a few minutes? What if you miss the big direction change? So because I'm not a day trader, I'm not in fear of missing out. Never get into FOMO, because if you are in FOMO, you will do the wrong thing. Wait, better missing a trade than rushing into one. So just watching and learning can be better than being in a trade on the wrong side and be caught because you don't want to leave it, or just to waste your day trades because you are still under PDT rule. Therefore, better wait 10-15 minutes until you clearly see that we are settling on a certain level, because you have time until the market opens. Normally we see on the news, we see a downfall, then we see a settlement maybe on the downside, just trading sideways, and when the market reopens, we see the same reaction again, but then suddenly we can see some dip buyers coming in. So you will have about 45 minutes to 1 hour to take on a decision. You can still wait for market open. You don't have to rush into a trade. I don't know what will happen tomorrow, but that is what I have often seen, that because CPI and PPI are 1 hour before the market opens, you will have some time until a volume will come up when the market opens, and therefore you can let time to take on a decision and time to take on a trade. Just wait and be sure to be on the right side. You don't have to be at the lowest point to enter your trade. You can wait for the whole stage 2 of a reversal for the sideways trading phase until we see the breakout, until you see that there's confirmation, stage 3 of a reversal, and then take on the trade. No matter if it's on the upside, the sideways trading, or on the downside, wait for confirmation, wait if you see a clear break to the downside or a clear break to the upside and a change of direction, and then take on a trade, because then you have more chances of winning. That's it. Yes, maybe you will have not the best risk-reward ratio anymore, but you will have more chances of winning, and that is more important when you are under PDT rule and when you want to day trade. And therefore you can take on a small part, maybe 10 or 20%. If we are in a sideways trading phase and you think that this is the bottom, then you can take on a small trade of your portfolio, but don't get in with 80 or 100%. Just wait for the market to settle and then go in with a higher amount if you are sure, and when you see the breakout. So let's go back to Nasdaq. It's trading below VWAP now. VWAP was acting as a resistance here. You clearly see the doji candle on a 1 minute chart. Let's go back to a 5 minute here. We are now trading below moving averages and below VWAP, making some lower highs. Let's see if we can hold this level and make lower lows here. On a 5 minute, it's still an uptrend. You can see here parabolic SAR is below the chart, as long as we don't close below this parabolic dot here. It's not a clear trend right now. We are still trading sideways with ADX here. ADX is telling us that it's a short trend because DI minus is above DI plus, but it's not a strong trend because the red line is just below the 20, and as long as it is below the 20, it's not a strong trend. Therefore we will have to wait for a breakout on the upside or on the downside, and we have about 60 points between high and low, so not a lot, but we can trade on the whole day in the sideways range, and it can be really boring to watch. Therefore set maybe your alarms or at the up or at the down level and wait for these levels to come and then take on a trade. But for now it's just looking more bearish than bullish, because below the VWAPs this is a doji candle again. So you see we went to the upside, made a doji, were rejected by the moving averages, and now we are trading to the downside. So we have this support from the last lows here. You can also draw some lines at the lows of the day. So this is a oops, the wrong horizontal line, the lows after the opening here, the lows during Asian session here. So these should act as support levels, and resistance levels on the upside. We had the highs pre-market here, and we had the highs after the opening here. So you see it's a small resistance area here, and we can go back to Friday. So Friday highs were here, and we also had some smaller levels where we were trading sideways here and right after the opening here. So these could be important levels if you just look at the major levels from the last trading day, Friday. But we are just trading in this small area here, in this 60 points area level, and therefore you have to wait for a clear breakout. So now we are making lower lows. It's looking more bearish now, but it's still trading sideways. So we can still see that we will see a rejection here. So for everyone who is scalping, could take on a small long trade here. It's risky because you are trading against the main trend. But if you just want to take on 5 or 10 points for a long trade right here at the last lows, this was about 11,543. It can be interesting to take on a long trade, a scalp trade, just for 5 or 10 points to the upside. But possibly on the next attempt here, we will see the breakthrough the low levels here if we retest them. Yeah, but for now it's just looking for sideways trading, a little bit bearish now, but everything can happen here. What are your thoughts on Amazon? Yeah, let's have a look at Amazon. Do I have the chart still open here? I don't think so. Okay, then let's take on this Tesla chart and just change it to Amazon. So this is Amazon, and here we see just more sideways trading. The last 4 or 5 trading days we were trading sideways. We have a smaller support here at $87.50, and we had high points here at $91.40. So the same like with a lot of instruments right now in a sideways trading phase here. But you see the overall trend is lower highs and lower lows. So it's a trade against the trend if you want to go long right now. But if you want to trade on short, wait for the break of the lows here, and then you can trade it to the short side, and maybe you see the breakthrough to the lows. We have already retested it. So this was the first low after the earnings. Second retest here, caught up some stop losses and then went right back bullish away. And now we can possibly see a retest here and then break to the lows if the market is weak. But if the market can stay strong, then we will see more sideways trading or the breakout here to the upside, depending on the overall market. For now, no clear direction from Amazon from the last trading days, but the overall trend is to the downside. How much do you wait after CPI release to know what the direction is right away? Yeah, we are already under this, so just wait for maybe 45 to 60 minutes if you want to be really sure. It depends on which time frame you trade. If you trade on a 1 minute time frame, then you can wait on a I like to look on a 5 minute time frame. So let's do it with last Friday. So let's go back to this is a 5 minute chart. So let's go back to last Friday and see what happened on a 5 minute time frame. So these were the first 5 minutes. So we went back right away. So if you have looked at this on a 1 minute time frame, you could have maybe taken on a long trade right here, and if you were lucky, you could have managed to trade it to the upside. But the difficulty is to get out right away, because then you see we were pulling back again. And therefore I'm looking at a 5 minute chart and I want to see the first green candle. So when I see the first green candle on a 5 minute chart, then I can be sure that we are almost trying to settle and to find the bottom here. So this is the interesting thing, to wait for the first green candle and then to take a decision if you want to take on a long trade here or not, because we are still below all moving averages. So you could take on a long trade here, but close it right at the 9 EMA line, which acts here as a resistance, and it went down again, retested the lows, and on market open you see we had the same movement again. We went down, but right away buyers stepped in and caused this breakout to the upside here and pushed the prices higher. So the same thing like when the news came out happened on the market open, and we probably will see the same tomorrow. So if the news are better than expected, then we will probably see here a downfall. So better than expected means higher than expected, not better, higher than expected, so higher inflation than expected. Then we will see the downfall and the comeback maybe right again, depending on how much worse than expected, how much higher than expected the news are. And then on the opening the same again. So I would wait for the opening to retest the lows or almost the lows and then take on a long trade. Because now you know you have more clear levels where you can take on the trade. Of course, you could have gone to a higher time frame and see maybe that there were previous lows here. So you see there was a low point here, there was a low point here, and therefore this could be an interesting level to take on a long trade. But right the day before we had lower lows. So maybe you would have set your entry point at lower levels because this was a low point the day before, and you wouldn't have entered the trade here. And therefore I would always just be patient and wait. Wait for 45-60 minutes just to see where the prices will settle. You will get a second chance on the opening of the stock exchange, and then we will see the same movement again, and you could enter your trade at the lows or almost the lows, and you could ride it to the long side for a reversal. Like here, you had the chance for almost around 100% reversal here. Just remove all the lines here and then redraw a Fibonacci just to show you from the low to the high. Yeah, you see here the 50% level we broke, then the 61.8% level we broke, and the 76.4% level we also broke. So we made almost a 100% rejection. Yeah, we didn't move to the high point of the day, but you see here was the last closing right before the news came out, and then we had some spill to the upside, but this was almost a 100% reversal. So it can be interesting to wait for the market open and to take on a trade at the lows to the long side, as long as you see that we are still trading sideways for 30-40 minutes here. So because then it's not considered to be a weak market if we manage to go sideways 30-40 minutes. But we have seen other CPI days where we were selling off right away for the next 30-40 minutes until the market opened, and we were already indirect for 3.5 or 4% on the opening. And this is then really bad. So then I wouldn't take on a long trade because we are at lower levels than right after the news. But like here, you could take on a long trade and you could try it because you have a good risk reward ratio if you have placed your stop loss right here below the lows from the news. Yeah, this could be interesting, and we see it's still weak here. Nasdaq is moving lower, now just touching parabolic SAR, and if it manages to close below, then this one will move to the upside and indicate a short trend again. But these lows from the opening are still in place and acting as a support here. So waiting for these levels to come if you want to take on a smaller trade for a scalp trade for some seconds or maybe 1 minute for 5 or 10 points to the upside. Yeah, I will be live for 5 or 10 more minutes and then I will close out, just to see how this happens. I won't trade it, just show you if my idea was a good one. You see here the low points. Sometimes we don't reach the low points right away, so it takes sometimes a second attempt just to push at these levels. But you see now we struggle here. You see the buyers coming in. So these are the scalpers. They are buying in now. You see the low point was 11,545, just 2 points above the last lows. And now you see again, these were the 10 points for the scalpers. So we went back 10 points and the scalpers are closing out now. So they went long, they are closing out, so shorting again, and that's why we pull back right away. This happens really often at the major support levels. So we see a rejection, not right at the lows, but 2 points above the lows. We have seen it right here, and 10 points movement and this is what the scalpers take on. They take on big positions, and that's why the price struggles to get through here right away. So we need a second attempt to make lower lows, because these scalpers, they hold the levels and they are fighting against in favor of the bulls and taking it back by 10 points, and then they close out their positions, which introduces new weakness in the charts in Nasdaq here, and then the bears can take over again and try to fight the levels to the downside if they are strong enough. But yeah, in such a sideways trading day with no major news, it can also be like this. So we can see a double bottom here, or just a retest, and see the bulls taking over to the long side again. So everything can happen here, and that's why it is difficult to trade on these days as a day trader without major news giving a direction. Yeah, because market is in a sideways range, and this is always difficult to trade. Yeah, this 5-minute candle is closing in 1 minute, but we are still above parabolic SAR, so it will not indicate a short trend on a 5-minute time frame. Let's see on a higher time frame here. 15-minute, we are in a downtrend. On 1 hour, we are in a downtrend, you see, but the parabolic SAR is already moving lower here. So as soon as we close a little bit higher in a green candle, we will see parabolic SAR moving below to the lows of the day, and then we will see an uptrend on parabolic SAR on an hourly time frame. On 4 hour, we also have a downtrend, and on a day chart, we already talked about this, we also have a downtrend in parabolic SAR, but the ADX is not showing a clear trend, so still waiting for a breakout of this sideways trading range. So not really interesting to take on an early trade as swing trade investor, but I have taken some smaller long positions for my portfolio here. Yeah, really, it depends on what you want to trade. You can trade it to the long or to the short side, but I wouldn't take on right now a trade, neither to the long nor to the short side, because it's just boring to be stuck in this sideways trading here. You can see it's not a clear direction. It's not pushing strong through the support levels here. So the bears are not in favor, and nor the bulls are in favor, and therefore we will possibly trade a longer time here sideways until we see the breakout. And that's not what I want to have as a day trader. I'm not a real day trader, but I don't want to be stuck in this and just watch the charts doing nothing. Therefore, I would wait for a clear direction, for a break of the last lows, and then we can see further pushbacks to the lows maybe of last Friday and Thursday. You see here the lows were 11,434 and here 11,423. So these are the interesting, important lows of last week. And if we are pulling below 11,500, these should be the next targets. But for now, it's still sideways trading. As you can see, a lot of false breakouts and trying to catch them stop losses. But yeah, it's not really interesting to trade it right now. Penguin saw the gap on NG last night, set Arlet for short at $7 or $7.20 to short for possible gap close. Would have turned out good as of right now from 7 short, double top, large up, wick after gap up. Yes, we already talked about natural gas. Let's go back to it again. And then I will close out the live stream. We are working on lower lows here. You see we managed now to go in this gap area here. Also it's still interesting to have a short trade in place here, because you have a good risk reward ratio, because the gap is still 6.5% wide, and if you want to place your stop loss right above here, this is only 4.3%, so it's still better than a 1-on-1 risk reward ratio, even if you have a far away stop loss. Yeah, natural gas is a large future, so if you want to trade it in a smaller size, maybe trade QG future. It's only a quarter of the size. Or if you want to trade an ETF, you can trade BOIL. It's a 2 times leveraged ETF, but you can trade it in smaller size than the future, especially if you are not able to trade on margin, or if you are not able to trade futures at all. Then you can trade BOIL ETF, BOIL. It's 2 times leveraged natural gas. So don't trade it for more than 1 day because of past dependency effect, the same like TQQQ and SQQQ, but you can trade it within a day with a leverage of 2. And you see why natural gas is called the Widowmaker, because we have these crazy moves and these crazy gaps like we have here, and therefore be cautious when you trade natural gas as underlying. That's it for today, and I hope you could learn something. You are prepared for this week. Let's see tomorrow before the market open for CPI news. And thank you for giving a thumbs up for my live stream, and wish